Welcome to the Bobby O Show. My name is Bob Potsner. I'm an attorney in Danbury, Connecticut with the law firm of Collins and Hannafin. I'll be hosting your show today as usual. This is my 26th show in this series. And I have who I think is a very interesting guest on a very interesting topic. Her name is Vasiliki Filippakos. She's a lawyer I've dealt with both the same side and opposite sides of cases. She's a person I respect a great deal. But there's a theme to today's show. We have in our country still a major divide as to how to deal with what some people call the immigration problem. I don't like to use the word problem, but I'd like to call it the immigration issue. And part of the problem is that we have such divide in our country that we cannot get people in our legislative branches in the United States and DC to decide on an appropriate policy. We had a bipartisan plan put together by the Republican Party, and then it was after agreed upon by both sides, the Republicans pulled back their support, and we do not have an agreement now on immigration. But immigration is a very important factor because we all are immigrants in the United States. My family came over, my grandfather and grandmother came over in the early 1900s from Poland, from England, South Africa, and we are all citizens of the United States, proud to be Americans, but we all came from somewhere. Vasiliki, who I call V because I can't spell her name, recently won an award issued by the Danbury Bar Association. The DBA is a group of lawyers. It's all the lawyers essentially in the greater Danbury area. We celebrate a day called Law Day, which is May 1st of each year. And as part and parcel of the Law Day festivities, we give out certain awards. I ran the program for 4 years, and we've had many people who contribute time and effort. This year, John Bowser and Candace Fay were the co-chairs of the Law Day festivities. But there are certain awards given out. My favorite is the American Dream Award. And Vasiliki won that award this year. Essentially, we'll get into a little bit later on about what the details are of the award. But essentially, it's an award given to an attorney or other person related to the legal field who was not born in the United States of America, but has become a naturalized citizen and has contributed to our society. And it's very important to see, if I went through the past winners, some great people like V have won the award. And it shows about how there are many positive with immigration. So let's introduce today Vasiliki Filippakos, who I will call V the rest of the show. Hey V, how you doing?
Hi Bob, I'm good. How are you?
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, V, would you please tell us a little bit about your background, where you were born, first of all, and when you came to the United States, a little bit of your background.
Sure. I was born and raised in Greece in a small village in Peloponnesus, which is called Laganas. And there is a Laganas in the island of Zakynthos, and it's not the same, just for clarification, because people know Laganas is Zakynthos. So I was born and raised in a small village with, I want to say, maximum of 1,000 people. I think right now there's more like 300 people in the village. And I moved to the United States when I was 17 years old. And upon moving here, I finished my senior year in high school at Danbury High School. And then I went on to college at WestCon, and then I went to law school at Coyle Law School in Michigan. And now I'm here in Danbury, having my own practice.
Let me ask this question. When you came to the United States at age 17, did you speak English?
I did, but I was speaking proper British English, not the American pronunciations or slang, for lack of a better word. So I had a hard time sometimes understanding what people were saying, but I knew some English when I came here.
So when you were growing up in Greece, and I think we used to call it foreign languages. Now, I was on the Board of Ed for many years in Richfield, and we called it world languages as opposed to foreign languages. It was a typical, when you grew up in that small town in Greece. And can you say that name again really slowly? Because I couldn't catch the name of where you grew up.
Yes, it's called Laganas, Laganas.
Does that have a Greek meaning of some type?
No.
Okay. So you grew up in Greece. Did people learn English or a world language in Greece typically when you were in school?
Yes. English is the primary language that's being taught in school. But also some of the schools in bigger cities, they teach French, Italian, German, Chinese. So it depends really what school you go to. But we also have a lot of private tutoring schools where kids can go and learn any language really that they want. So that's a great advantage to having that.
Did you have any private tutoring in English when you came over, or before you came over?
Before I came over, yes, I was taking English in high school, but also I had a private tutor. It was like a group of like 4 or 5 kids in my village that would get together once a week and be taught English.
Did you, when you were a student, what language, this may be a dumb question, there's a few dumb questions I'm allowed each show. What
Okay.
language was all your studies in primarily?
With the tutoring?
No, in your grade school.
Oh, it was all Greek.
All Greek.
Yep.
And then, okay, and the tutoring you had, how did that help you learn English? Did it make it faster? I'm sure it did. How did it work?
Did it faster, but I was also watching a lot of American television. I was watching Beverly Hills 90210, Baywatch, all those typical, Young and the Restless, Bold and the Beautiful, which sounds such a cliche, but that's what I learned how to pronunciate things a little more with an American accent than an actual British accent.
Who was your favorite character on Beverly Hills 90210?
Dylan.
Of course, I knew you were going to say. Now, why was it Dylan?
Because everybody loves a bad boy.
Oh, then I guess you don't like me because I'm not a bad boy, right? So, and did you think that that's what America would be like? 90210? Is that what you thought was like here?
I knew that's what like California was like. I didn't believe that the rest of America was like that.
I see. And you came to the United States. And when did you become a citizen of the United States?
I believe I became a citizen either my first, second year in college.
And what was the procedure, briefly, as to that process? How did it work?
I think because my parents were here, it was a lot smoother and easier for me to become a citizen because my parents were already here, and my dad was already a citizen. I honestly, it's a blur because the whole first couple of years being here was a blur for me because it was just a whole new environment to adjust to. So I would be lying if I even tried to tell you how the process was because my dad and my mom handled everything for me.
And your family you had your parents already here when you came over?
Yes.
What did your parents do when you came over? What was their profession?
So my dad and his brothers owned Mykonos restaurant, and my mom was doing odd jobs and taking care of my little brother who was born in 1995. So she was a stay-at-home mom until she started, working more.
Was it hard for you when you came over from Greece? You spoke a little English coming over. You had your tutor over here. Was it hard to just come into Danbury High School? And you came as a junior or senior in high school when you came in?
Senior. It was my senior year. I'm not gonna pretend and say that it was easy because it wasn't. I specifically remember pretty much crying every day because I thought I wasn't gonna make it. I thought it was just very different. It was a huge school, number one, which I wasn't used to. The language, just, being a senior and having no senior friends. I used to hang out a lot with the freshman and sophomore, which I guess if you're a senior, it's kind of a frowned upon because you kind of follow your grade as you go forward. But it was very hard, but magically I graduated with high honors. So don't ask me how I did that. But yeah, it was a challenge, but I think that's part of being an immigrant child. We are very prone to adversity and we tend to take things as they come and make the best of it.
When I was in fourth grade, I'll never forget, I was in fourth grade and I grew up in Shelton, Connecticut. And we had a student who came over from Poland who should have been a sixth grader, but he came into the fourth grade because he spoke no English, none whatsoever. It was our job. It was our job to help him. And the thing is interesting, he was the best student in math. But English, of course, we helped him. And we all felt very proud to be, even at that young age, to be part and parcel of helping someone come into America. And he was welcomed with open arms. He ended up becoming a very good football player. And he was a punter on the football team. And he used to punt barefooted. And imagine on Thanksgiving Day. So it was a really great experience for all of us. And we learned about Poland, etc. V, I have a very special guest on the show right now. He's going to surprise you and talk to you a little bit about the award that you got from Law Day. This year's activities the theme was Voice of Democracy, Shaping the Future. And if we have our guest, Candy Ann, we can put her on right now.
Oh,
We have Candace
Good
Fay. Hi,
morning.
Candace. How are you?
Hi, good. Thank you. How are you guys?
We're fine, thanks. Are you surprised, V? I told you I'd surprise you with something, right?
I know, I am surprised.
Well, Candace Fay and my law partner, John Bowser, as I said before, were co-chairs of Law Day this year. And Candace did a great job at the ceremony when you got the award. Such a good job. I thought I'd have her come on and tell us about what the award's all about and why you earned it. You're both smiling pretty big. I guess I did a good idea having you both on. Candace, what's the story? Why did you get the award? What's it all about? Take it away.
Well, so the award that Attorney Filippakos received is the American Dream Award. And I don't know if you guys have already talked about this, but it's basically given by the Greater Danbury Bar Association to an attorney, a judge, or it could be a judge or an attorney, I should say, that's made a great contribution to our community, law, and justice in America. So when Vasiliki's nomination came in front of the committee, she really was the clear choice. Obviously, she's a naturalized U.S. citizen from Greece. And since she got her law degree here, she has contributed both professionally and personally to not just our community here in Danbury, where we're lucky to have her now, hopefully permanently. But she's practiced law in, I think, 3 states prior to returning home, and opened her own law practice, is very successful, practices law with a great degree of compassion, kindness, grace, all of which are qualities, really outstanding qualities in any human. But when you find those qualities in an attorney, they should be applauded. And that's hopefully how Vasiliki feels right now in this year and every day that she walks through her doors.
Candy Ann, you want to put a couple of pictures we have up to show the award that V got? That's a picture of V with the mayor of Danbury, with both having big smiles. That was the day of the award. And V, is that the actual plaque you received?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, the plaque's correct, but the spelling's not correct. Is that right? All right, that's a nice picture. And who's this handsome gentleman to your left?
I would say he's my better half. That's my husband, Casey Phillips.
That's a really cool picture. Very, very cool. Well, thank you for putting that up. Candace Fay, thank you so very much for coming on to the show today. And we'll have to have a show. I was going to do a show with you and John Bowser on Law Day, because I think Law Day is a very, very significant part of what we do as lawyers in Danbury. And I appreciate you coming on. And thank you for the very kind words.
Thank you. Congratulations again.
It was good to see you.
All right. Bye-bye.
See you. Thank you, Candace. Sophie, did you like the surprise I gave you?
I did. And I was hoping that she wouldn't make me cry, because at the day of the event, she had such amazing things to say about me. And, when you do what you do, you don't sit and think, well, this is how people are going to think about this. Are people going to like me or not like me? So, but just doing what you want and showing up as your true self, I think pays a lot more than pretending to be somebody you're not. So basically what you see is what you get. And having Candace say all those things about me here today and a Law Day, I was constantly, in tears, because I was so moved by the recognition. And I was very surprised to see how people held me in high esteem. So that means a lot to me, and I do appreciate it.
Well, in a very short period of time, you've only been, I think, about 5 years, of which a few of those years were COVID. And and I'm not an easy grader. I to earn my respect, that's always been that way. And you've earned my respect from day one. We've had cases against each other, with each other, and we've always advocated strongly for our clients, but always in a professional way, in a personal way. And I got to know you, and that's part of the law practice. I once had a client say to me many years ago, "How come you're being so nice to the other attorney after we walked through the hallways, whatever?" And I said, "Well, the other attorney is my adversary, but not my enemy."
Right.
And I think you would agree with me that the better job is a job in a divorce case. We do a lot of divorce cases, you and I both, is to work it out amicably, because the case will be done and we'll go our separate ways. But the clients, if they have kids who are, let's say, 4 or 5 years of age, for the next 20 plus years and more, it's working without the lawyers present, hopefully. I always tell my clients that the real test of a successful divorce is when the kids get married or when the kids have bar mitzvahs or whatever life cycle events happen. If the kids want to invite both parents and both parents come positively, that's a real goal, isn't it?
I agree 100%. And I don't think people understand that if the lawyers are fighting or they don't get along, it's costing them more money. And, it's not our divorce as attorneys, right? It's their divorce. And we're trying to do the best we can for them. And getting along with your, opposing counsel, I think it's a great thing because then you can move the case forward as opposed to just getting stuck on things that don't really matter.
Yeah, I think it's very sage advice to have. And we need more lawyers, younger lawyers. A lot of us in the Danbury area are getting a little long in the tooth, and it's good to have. Are you shocked to hear that you're a young lawyer? Yeah,
I am, because I'm getting up there. So to hear that I'm a young lawyer, it makes me feel good, but also
what was the reaction of your family, your parents, when they heard about you winning the award? What was their reaction? Because they were in Greece. Your parents have been from Greece, the United States, many years before you, right?
Yes. So you haven't met my parents, but my parents are, I think, aside from my husband and my brother, they're my biggest fans. And they were very excited. And after I got the award, the first thing I did was drive home and give that to them. Because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Did you work in your family business?
I did. I worked at the restaurant for about 6 years before I went to law school.
So actually roughly in the ages of, let's say, 17, 18 to like 23 or so, you worked at your family's restaurant.
Correct.
That's very similar to what I did. My parents we actually had a family bakery for my grandfather from 1907 to 1974. I was the black sheep who decided not to stay in the bakery business. But I worked every Saturday night except twice. I got a date for the junior prom, so I didn't have to work that night. And Yom Kippur was a Saturday. Other than that, I worked every Saturday night. And I think the values that we learn working with our families like you did with your families,
right.
I think it was one of the biggest factors that made me, to the extent I'm a success in the legal profession, I think that was a very important part of it. What do you think about that, Dee?
I agree 100%. I knew that I couldn't use an excuse. Oh, I'm sick or I'm not feeling well. I have homework because I live with my parents. So if my dad was to say, hey, can you cover this shift? And I said no, he would say, well, what are you doing? And I couldn't say, oh, I'm just going to sit at home when I know that, they need the coverage. So he also builds, it builds character, perseverance, and also kind of a no excuse mentality, because I think we tend to use excuses when we don't want to do something. And, the plus was that I actually had to spend more time with my dad because, as having a restaurant or a bakery, it's a very demanding business. So I love spending time with my dad, even if it was, working together.
I also think that as a family business, I always felt like I was in some way contributing to our family financially. And I think it always has made me more careful about, even though people say, well, lawyers charge too much or whatever they say about our bills. I know you're like me, and that is that I'm very cognizant of the dollars being spent. And don't you and I say to clients sometimes, gee whiz, is it worth the extra X dollars to fight for this amount of money or that? Is that in the best interest? And I think I learned those values from being in my family's business. Do you agree with that?
I agree 100%. And also when you work for family, you care more. And I think you take those traits that you learn into your next position, because they say, however you do one thing, you do all things. So I think that's very, very true. And working for a family business, they demand a lot from you because they know you have potential. So I think not having that may be a disadvantage to people that don't work for their family. Because I know that everybody drives each other crazy, right, when they work for the family business, but also it builds character.
Yeah, and it also makes us be able to relate to clients of different economic means.
Absolutely.
When my kids grew up in Richfield, Connecticut, and I was always a little worried about that because Richfield's not like Shelton; it's a little bit more upper class than that. And I'm not bragging; I'm just saying that's the way it is. And I was worried about my kids growing up and not having the values of knowing. And luckily, my son played football, and he worked in the summers with the football players in the Parks and Rec, and my daughter worked in a restaurant in Richfield. So those are values that I think you and I are both trying to carry on to our next generations. You are a family law practitioner. You do family law. Tell me why you chose that particular area of the law to be what you focused on. We can't say specialized because ethically we can't say we specialize specialize, but it's something you focus on. Tell me why you chose family law.
So it's a sweet story because when I finished law school, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and I think that's something that plagues a lot of young lawyers. When they get into law school, you think you want to do one thing, you get out, and you say, "Well, that's not what I want to do." So when I got out of law school, I took the Michigan bar and I moved back home in Connecticut, and I was looking for a job, and I applied for a job with the Danbury Superior Court as a clerk. And when I got hired, I was doing short calendar like back in the day, and I would do some personal injury trials. And I was working closely with Judge Lehaney, who's no longer with us. And I did a lot of family short calendar and a lot of family trials. And I fell in love with it. And I remember when Deborah Grover was practicing, I was like, I want to be a Deborah Grover one day. She had it together. She knew her cases inside and out. She was just a dynamic female figure for me that, kind of helped me decide what I wanted to do. And if anybody's considering working for the courthouse, I think it's one of the best positions you can hold as a young lawyer, to learn how things work in the background, because the experiences and the information that I learned is invaluable to my practice today.
Jed, you mentioned the female figures in the practice of law. Judge Lehaney was one of the earlier judges who was a female. Judge Geen, who also has passed away, was, and there have been several. But now, looking at the year 2024, it's unusual not to see a female judge or not to see a female lawyer, which is a great thing.
Right.
It's a great thing because you need diversity. And sometimes the clients will ask me and say, gee whiz, if it's a guy, he may say, gee, should I get a female lawyer? Or the lady may say, should I get a male, whatever. I think it's irrelevant what the gender is of the lawyer you hire, but some people feel more comfortable. And it's good to have various different choices. And I think diversity is very important, which sort of ties in again back to the start of the theme of the show, which was the issue of immigration. Tell me how you think of what your thoughts are about where we are in immigration now that you've been here for several years, almost 7-8 years. What are your thoughts about how we can improve our interactions with immigrants? Any thoughts?
Yes and no. I know it's a very sensitive issue, and being an immigrant myself, of course, I'm pro-immigration, and I think this country was, brought to life by immigrants. None of us really, except Native Americans, were really here. So I do think that we need to find a middle ground, that we can't just, have everybody come in. There has to be some kind of method in place that we can get people in, but also set them up for success. Because, everybody's saying, immigrants are taking our jobs. And I'm like, well, they're jobs most people don't want to do here. So, it's a fine dance trying to get everybody on board with immigration policies, but we can't turn our back to it or restrict it, because if it wasn't for immigration, this country may not have existed. So people think that move here and they have a successful life kind of forget that where they came from. So I think that, our country needs to make sure that we keep our borders open, that we do foster immigration, but obviously there has to be some, rules in place so that we're not over flooded, and that we have what we can in place to help these people.
Well, I could not agree with you more. I agree with the fact of several things you said. I guarantee you that when my grandfather, Max, his name is actually Opachner, but I guess the way they put it on the Ellis Island certificates, it became Opatsner. But I'm sure when he came over, people in the early 1900s were saying, we don't want any more of, quote, them, unquote, whatever them is, right? So I think every generation of that is significant. And there are many, many people that you and I have met who are relatively recent.
Right.
One of my family members recently had surgery with a doctor from Finland.
Yeah.
And so we have to have rules, however, and I agree with you on that part as well. We should have rules that can be followed and that will be followed, but we can't just have slipshod activities. It's got to be something, and we have to all give. I think one of the problems I see, and I'm older than you are, you couldn't tell that, I'm sure, but I would say to you that I think one of the biggest weaknesses I see in our country now, and it's over the last 20 years especially, is me. Everything is not about me, but I think our society has become more me oriented, and we have to get back to the we perspective. Part of it I blame on the internet, social media. I mean, when, for example, I'll tell you this, V, when you were a young lawyer coming in, 4 or 5, 6 years ago, you did not have the opportunity because of COVID for a couple of years to watch other more mature lawyers, more experienced lawyers do their thing. And I remember as a young lawyer, I'd go to court, and if I knew lawyer A, B, and C were there, who I thought was really good, I'd go and watch.
Right.
We don't have that opportunity as much anymore, do we, V?
We do not. And to tie back to what you were saying about immigration, I mean, this country is based on everybody living their American dream. So to continue that narrative that anybody can come here, live their American dream like I have, like my family has, and get this award, we need to foster immigration, right? You can't be like, well, we're not accepting any more people, because that's what we stand for. It's the American dream, coming here for a better future. And that's what basically got my parents to come to this country.
One last thing briefly, your husband is in law school, is he not?
Yes, he is.
He's actually retired from the military, correct?
Yes, he's retired from the Coast Guard after 23 years. He retires a chief warrant officer too.
So that's why you moved around a lot. That's why you're in Oregon and you came back to Connecticut. Yeah. And he's got one more year to go. And I understand the plan right now is that he's going to join your law firm once he graduates. Is that correct?
That is correct.
That's going to be an interesting challenge. Although I know he's worked with you sort of as a paralegal position for a while. But it's interesting to have your spouse work with you, because that means if you're having a tough day at home, you got to come in and whatever. Or the other downside is you talk about cases all the time, right? You might go home and it's important to have that break between the professional V and the spouse V. Vasiliki, we have about a minute left. I'd like to just give us a last thought you may have about the award you won, and just anything you want to say about God Bless America or whatever you want to talk about.
Sure. God Bless America, of course. I'm very honored to be on your show today. Thank you for reaching out to me and featuring me on your show. And thanks to Candace Faye for coming on, and to the Greater Danbury Bar Association, who nominated me and voted for me to get this award. It's very near and dear to my heart. And every time I think about it, it makes me emotional, because it shows that the American dream is very much still alive.
It sure is. And you are an excellent example of the positive side of immigration. I look forward to our next case, and don't beat me up too badly, okay?
Okay. Well,
this
nice talking to you.
Thank you. This has been Bobo Potsner on The Bobbio Show with a wonderful guest, Vasiliki Filippakos. Have a great day.
Bye. You too. Have a good day.